This will be a good one. Yo. Are you in Canada already? Hello? I can't hear you. Yeah. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Okay, now I can hear you. Perfect.
Alright, what's up, dude?
Nothing much. Are you at work still?
Yeah, I'm at work. My next door neighbor just left, so I don't have to leave the door shut and, like, be suffocated in here. If anybody drops by, though, it might be kind of awkward. They'll, like, overhear me talking about these weird foreign concepts like wave dashing and TOing.
So, what's up? You're going this weekend, right, to Gommel?
Yeah, I'm going to Gommel this weekend. It's going to be 2 straight out-of-state tournaments. Last week I went to Combo Breaker in Chicago. This week going to Toronto, and there's huge top players going to both last week and this weekend. It's going to be it's like a good exercise and improvement to see how I stack up against the playing styles over in Chicago and then Toronto. It's always fun. These are like the 2 best neighbors to have, about 4 hours each from Michigan, where I live. And I wish I could go more. It's rough to get a carpool together and travel every time.
How do you do it? Like, after one weekend and going 5 days of work to one weekend to doing 5 more days of work or 4 days depending on the week. Like,
Yeah.
my body doesn't survive. Like,
Yeah. It's funny because on Tuesday when I got back from Chicago, I started like feeling kind of sick, and I was like, oh no, don't do this to me. And then at work on Tuesday and Wednesday, I think I drank like 30 to 40 bottles of water, like 30 to 40 bottles of these,
what?
and ate my vitamin C, ate healthy, actually ate my veggies for once, which I usually avoid.
Dude,
I think I'm all good now. I feel a lot better. So bring it on, Toronto. Going to Gommel this weekend.
Dude, you never eat veggies. Ever.
Yeah. There's probably 2 or 3 different Korean places in town that know me as the guy who comes in and orders bulgogi without vegetables.
That's so funny. So,
I'm not proud of that.
And you also don't know how to use chopsticks.
That's a misconception. I can use chopsticks. I choose not to. I choose to use the superior utensil, which is the fork.
All right. Well, I've never actually seen you use it, but I will take your word for it. So, how'd you get into TOing and event planning?
TOing, how I first got into it. Well, okay, this is kind of funny. You know how we say there's documentary babies and like Evo babies? I was a Brawl baby. Okay, without Brawl, I would not be in the Melee community because I was just a casual before 2008. I couldn't drive till 2007, so at that point I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait for the new game to come out, and I'm gonna be better at it than Melee. It's gonna be a level playing field. Yeah, let's do it, guys. Brawl. So played Brawl for a few months, and we kind of know how that went. Went back to Melee tournaments, and it was a constant struggle between like, okay, I kind of know that I like Melee better, I prefer it, but the community is so much smaller than Brawl. Our Melee tournaments were getting like 15, 20 people tops. Brawl, 30 to 40.
Wow.
Okay. Like all the Smash babies now, they're gonna laugh at these numbers, but that's what we were dealing with back then. We were peasants. Like, we were happy to get a 30-person turnout at a local. And it just became a thing where I followed my YouTube videos like everyone else. I saw Homemade Waffles, Silent Spectre, Dark Rain, all these guys around the country, and I wanted Michigan to have some of that hype. So actually have tournaments so we can have a shared experience saying, okay, we can go attend these events. Doesn't matter if it's only 20, 30 people, at least there's something. Because we want to be like the guys in NorCal who have moved past Brawl and went back to Melee and are having a lot of fun with it. So when people say, oh, Homemade Waffles is one of the saviors of Melee or whatever, I actually totally agree with that, because without him, a lot of people like me in other areas of the country might have just packed the bags and been like, you know what, I don't like Brawl, but there's no Melee scene, so I'm just going to move on to something else, play another hobby. But that didn't happen. Instead, went to these super grassroots poverty Melee tournaments, and as you can imagine, the TOing wasn't very good. Even matches like grand finals weren't recorded, and I started as a recording person, one of those YouTube uploaders back in the day, because nothing was getting recorded, and I wanted to preserve that part of history so we can look back on it, and it'd be easier to make that a selling point to new attendees for future tournaments. And it kind of just went on from there, like, you know what, I want more control over where the recording setup is at the venue. I want more control over whether these players are going to offline setup or recording setup. And then in my quest for that power, I just became a TO. That's kind of my path.
Dude, you're greedy for hungry now. Now you're a national TO. What are we gonna do next?
It's so funny. TOing has come such a long way. I tell people this all the time. The Big House won in 2011. But you were at the Big House 1, right?
Yeah, I was there. I was one of the few people from California that made a trip.
Tell me, if the Big House 1, that exact tournament, had happened yesterday in the world of 2015, how would you rate that tournament?
Gosh.
Not very highly. I'm gonna guess.
Well,
I'm just gonna answer that for you. It was, by those standards in 2011. Oh sure, maybe it was a pretty good tournament, but now it's just it was a complete crapshoot, and that's what it was like back then. So the direction of TOing has gotten like more and more towards, well, first of all, after the dark ages of Melee, it got towards like, okay, you know what, there's actually a quality experience that needs to be had by attendees, and now that there are options for people, the free market's finally kind of being at play with different TOs and players choosing between events that they have to go to. So it's gotten way better, is my point.
And what are some steps you've taken? Because you're one of the few, I mean, all the TOs now that are doing national level things that still have survived, they grew out of a smaller product. So I think the biggest hump is going from like a 50-man local and successfully like translating that into like a multi-100-man regional. And what are some of the steps that people need to take that are often overlooked?
I think people try to take shortcuts too quickly. You have TOs these days who look at the hype regionals and nationals. They want to skip the locals and go straight to the nationals, and you can't really do that. It's just like, at any sort of thing you want to get good at, there's a progression of you start out, you get better at it, you grow your resources, and then finally you reach that point where you have the infrastructure to hold something like a national, like Big House. So for me, Big House 1 was a very significant milestone in that path. That was the first time I brought out any out-of-state players to Michigan. We had gotten, I think, 50 or 60 people at the previous tournament, which was a record back then. Don't laugh again, Smash Babies. So I contacted S2J and Lovage from West Coast after Genesis 2. That was in July 2011. If you remember, they had super impressive tournaments at that event. So I wanted to bring the hype to Michigan. I was like, Johnny, Oscar, I'll pay for half of your plane ticket. Come to Michigan and take our money. You're going to make it back, I guarantee you. And they did. And it'll be a win-win for us. You'll make your money back. You'll have a lot of exposure getting, top 2 at this tournament. And the Midwest will be happy to have out-of-state strong talent for the first time since...
FC?
Before Brawl came out, yes, FC.
Dude, they
So,
all loved Johnny after that tournament.
yeah. Johnny had a lot of Midwest groupies after that one. He that's probably the reason he hasn't come back. There's too many fanboys who just come crawling at their knees to him.
But
He still
but
hasn't come back since Big House
but
1.
to this day, when I look at SSBM rank and I break it down by region, Midwest carries Pew Pew and S2J. They rate them so high compared to other regions. It's nuts.
Dude, I'm part of that. I think PPU and SG are so good.
they are amazing.
Yeah. I think maybe it's because in the Midwest there's a lot of Falcons and Marths, especially in Chicago. I went to Combo Breaker this weekend. I played like 4 Marths in tournament, and I only played like 7 or 8 sets total because it was bracket pools. Whereas in a Michigan tournament or Ohio tournament, I played maybe 1 Marth the whole tournament. It's crazy. So people look up to their PPUs and S2Js. They have their Smash role models.
So a couple questions, and that more pertain to Big House 5, but if you want to elaborate and make some key selling points to the 300 plus viewers on why they should go, this is the perfect time to make some plugs.
Sure. Yeah, the Big House 5 is going to be a national Melee and Smash 4 tournament in October in Michigan. And I would guess it's going to be one of the top 2 tournaments of the year. Top 3 for sure. And the Midwest doesn't hold tournaments often, but when we do, we make sure it's worth it because we have a lot of people traveling hours and hours through the Great Plains, through the Great Lakes area to come, and without good tournaments, they don't come back. So you can trust me, it's going to be a good one, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have like at least 2/3 of the SSBM rank in attendance. It's going to be that kind of tournament.
The Big Six?
Yeah, I don't see why not. At this point, I don't feel the need to say this guy's confirmed, because we're at a point where the tournament's on the same level of Apex and Evo of the past, and it's kind of expected that everybody goes. So I expect everyone to go too, and I don't think we need to do a lot of selling on that point. I think the tournament experience by the in-person attendees will speak for itself. Anybody you ask who has come to our previous installments.
Wait, you mean you can't just have a good grand finals and forget about all the issues of the tournament?
Yeah. That's something stream viewers never see. It's the early phase, day 1 experience. It's the main stage projector, production value. It's the seating, the air conditioning, the floor plan, the traffic congestion or lack of congestion, the venue room rates. The stream viewers don't really see that, but that's still the most important part of TOing, because if you don't bring people back for your tournaments, then you won't have a tournament, and there won't be a stream for people to watch.
They're chanting PPMD in the stream.
Oh yeah, I've had my email correspondence with PPMD over the years. It's hard to get him to come to a tournament, but I fully expect him to be there. Yes.
Okay, very cool. What was it? There was a question I had. So you talk about having a wonderful experience, and with that you make conscious decisions to minimize risk. And so what we're like, and I think a lot of people are curious, why it's so hard to run a national. I alluded to this, but do you want to, elaborate on tough decisions?
Yeah. I think the answer is kind of simple. Even though people overthink it, when you go past a certain tipping point in attendees, you can't run a national by yourself anymore. It's not like your basement tournament where you can hold up a megaphone and say, player A reports to the main station. You can't do that with 1,000 attendees in the building, and you can't get equipment reliably with 1,000 attendees under the same roof. It's a big challenge in scaling the size of the tournament, and with that challenge comes the need for sponsors and help in the form of volunteers, equipment, and promotion from actual business partners. And these actual business partners, they're the ones who really make the decisions on whether or not they're going to support your tournament, and if they decide that there's an inherent risk with your tournament for any reason, then they're not going to touch it. And as a TO, you're going to have to look elsewhere for that support. So there just comes a point where you can't host a national while just blatantly ignoring some of the risks that come with it. That's something that I addressed in the blog post about PM
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Most people have read it, and I think, but do you just want to quickly recap the 3 points? Like, you don't have to repeat the
Yeah,
whole thing.
sure. So it for me, it really came down to um, there's the risk factor, there's equipment, and there is leadership. These three things, it would take a shift on all three of this criteria in order for me to really change my mind. So yeah, it really annoys me when somebody just pinpoints one and harpens on that and just like berates me over it. It's because like, okay, fine, maybe I would be compelled to take a risk on it if reasons 2 and 3 were taken care of, but they're not. Okay, and it's the same with any other game in any lineup of a major. The tournament organizer has a certain set of criteria, and okay, maybe if you meet like 2 of the 3 criteria, that's good enough for them. If you go 0 and 3, that's a strikeout, and the tournament organizers are not going to go for it. Just a brief recap of the 3. We talked about risk, right, with the business partners and sponsors. Equipment is the other thing. I haven't really made an announcement on who I'm working with yet. I don't want to like toot their horn without actually having an official contract signed, but
Right.
I'm working with equipment vendors specifically who, they have Melee and Smash 4 equipment. They're a real business. They don't have 1 PM setup in their warehouse for reasons that I've already talked about. So it's not about the cost of the setup or availability of it. It is the fact that there's no actual business entity out there that has, say, 64 PM setups sitting in their warehouse. There is literally no place in the world that has that.
Well, isn't that
So
availability then?
it's 0.
Okay. Oh, you're just meaning no avail. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So, but there are different vendors who have 64 Melee setups, 64 Smash 4 setups, and I work with them to make it happen for a tournament.
Right. And I think that well, just sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's not just a Smash PM thing. Like, we've had historical throughout national history. We've been short on setups in all games, right? And I think that's like something. The big common thing is like, oh, is Juggleguy just gonna criticize the PM scene? Well, yes, like PM dropped the ball at Big House 4 from what I saw, promising like 2/3 of the setups that you needed, but I see that all the time with Melee and Brawl, like where the setups failed.
Yep. And luckily, like, I live in such a great Melee region that it's never been an issue with the Melee setups here. But just the big difference, the big leap from Big House 4 to Big House 5 is we're going to have actual equipment to start off with. And the TV situation, I still probably have to address, but it's a lot easier for me to say, hey, I'm going to give you $10 if you bring a TV and leave it at the venue from Friday to Sunday, rather than, oh, by the way, you also have to bring a full setup with a memory card, with a Melee disc, and there's no guarantee that security will be 100% airtight. Yeah, that's a much harder sell than saying, you just have to bring a TV, I'll give you $10 back, which is probably going to be the situation this year because all the Melee setups and all the Smash 4 setups are going to be there on Thursday night. They're all going to be ready to go. We just need a TV to go with it. For Melee, for Smash 4, it's going to be 100% completely ready to go.
Nice. And that's like a lot less stress on your end.
Yeah, it's paying for the peace of mind to work with these sponsors because that's why it pays off. It's not really, I mean, I'm sure if I tried hard enough, I could crowdsource 60, 70 setups for each game. But here's the thing. People would be coming maybe Thursday night. They might be coming Friday morning. I'd have to worry about, are these pools even going to be able to run with the number of setups that we have now? Somebody isn't scheduled for the first tournament obligation till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Are they going to come at 3:45? Is that setup even going to be available in the morning when I need those setups to run 10 a.m. pools? So those are kind of the decisions I have to keep in mind. And at the end of the day, it's just way more professional to work with equipment vendor, even though obviously it costs more and it's a lot more to work towards pre-tournament. It's just the peace of mind that I have tournament weekend that is completely worth it to me.
I see. Now, one of the big criticisms that, I think PM people have is there's a KO Kingpin's fundraiser, I believe, where he wanted to source out like $1,800, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, like I saw that, and people are wondering, why didn't you respond? What's wrong? You didn't even address it in your post. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. Is first of all, the amount of money that was offered is actually like honestly it's like pennies compared to what you need to run a national tournament of the caliber of Big House. And I don't want that to be like a condescending statement or anything. It's just a fact. And the fact that people thought that was enough money just shows a very clear lack of understanding of how much is needed in terms of resources to run a national tournament. And also, it doesn't address reasons 1 and 3 that PM isn't at Big House. It's never gonna solve the problem of the risk that would be involved and the leadership aspect, the human resources required to run a tournament. KO Kingpin's just one guy in Tennessee. It makes me think people didn't even realize why, I wrote the third paragraph. It's because there's a lot of local leadership that needs to be developed for the PM scene, and in order for me to host something that meets my standard of quality, I need a super strong partner in that scene, which completely doesn't exist right now.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard.
Yeah.
I'll tell people a little story. So obviously Big House 4 had its issues with PM bringing setups. We had to change top 3 to top 2 advanced because of that. I gave it another try at Sweet Prologue, and this time I was like, you know what? During registration, we'll commit to setups. You can say, I'm bringing a full setup, check mark. And if you do that, but you fail to bring a setup, you renege on that commitment, that's a $20 fine at the door. And what ended up happening is I think we got 6 PM setups out of the 15 that were confirmed. So the other 9 people just paid a $20 fine instead of supporting the PM event at that tournament. And that was kind of the last straw for me, honestly. What I worry about even more than that is I didn't have anyone to turn to and yell at for that problem, right? If you think about, say, Evo, if Mr. Wizard were crowdsourcing setups for Evo and then we didn't get enough, he could turn to Scar and Prague and be like, what's up, guys? Why didn't you step up? Because he knows that Scar and Prague are the leaders of the Melee community, and everybody kind of answers to them. They're held accountable at the end of the day. For Michigan PM, I literally don't know who to turn to. There's no names in my mind in terms of like, you're held accountable because half the setup showed up at this tournament. Instead, it's just like a flock of sheep looking at me saying, sorry, next time.
Well,
I just tell them, okay, maybe there won't be a next time because of that.
What was their response during the tournament? Because, like, for that Sweet tournament, obviously you would have to compromise the format in some way. Did people understand?
Yeah. So I converted most of Losers Bracket to best of 1 because we wouldn't have been able to finish on time without that. Other TOs might have said, screw it, we have half the setups, so we're going to run 2 hours late. But nobody gets held accountable that way, so I'd rather finish on time and hold people accountable for the setups that they didn't bring. And so I think the first 4 rounds of Losers were best of 1, and we barely finished PM on time because of that. So I think it was the right decision.
Okay. And I think it's fair, like, because, from a quality standpoint, like, you want to interface with something known. And if, like, let's say 800 PM players came and you had 15 setups, the TO was understaffed, then, like, you'd feel bad for, like, the 750 PM players that have to suffer for that.
Exactly. And there's another point to this, is people sometimes say, oh, well, I knew going in PM would be a side event, so I didn't go. All right, well, that's one of the worst attitudes you can have. I could say the same thing about Evo. It's not a Melee tournament, it's an FGC tournament, so I'm not going to go, and I'm not going to help rally for setups, and I'm not going to help rally for volunteers. Well, guess what? Mr. Wizard might see that, and next year decide that we're not worth having back again. So when a big tournament gives a game an opportunity, that game needs to step up and fulfill that opportunity and show that they should be back next year. And the two main parts of that is bring setups and volunteer to help run the tournament. So people who said PM was treated as a side event at Big House 4 are completely wrong. PM and Melee were treated with equal opportunities to be the main event, but obviously the Melee players stepped up and made it their main event, while PM, we all know what happened there.
Yeah. And I think it's like, that's always how I view like relationships. Like, you can make it extra burdensome for a person, or you can make it easy for them. And by natural discourse, like, if you're extra burdensome and annoying, like, people don't want to talk to you. Not saying, but that's just general relationships.
Yeah. I don't want to point fingers or anything. It's not anyone's particular fault. It's just that Michigan PM, the local leadership, isn't great, and I need it to be great in order for me to host a great tournament. I don't want to work with mediocre leadership and host a mediocre event, because that's more trouble than it's worth at the end of the day.
Right. So you mentioned, like, you need a staff, right? And one of the big things that you have to do is scale up beyond just yourself, and I feel like that's a big fundamental issue as a lot of TOs try to make that hump into bigger tournaments. So how do you cultivate a team?
Well, it's not easy for these tournaments, and without volunteers, there really wouldn't be nationals. No FGC majors, no Smash nationals, and so this year I'm actually gonna, instead of begging people to volunteer as pool captains, I'm gonna have a volunteer application, and there's gonna be sick incentives for people who are willing to take a couple hours out of their day and help run pools. There's gonna be priority seating for Sunday. You know how everybody's always fighting for seats near the main stage on Sunday? Well, we're gonna rope off an area and say, you know, these are good seats. Anyone who volunteered, we're gonna have ushers who put volunteers in those seats. They're like, okay, you get to watch without worrying about fighting for a seat on Sunday. And we're probably gonna feed them, and we're probably gonna give free t-shirts or extra raffle tickets or something like that. Haven't completely decided, but there's going to be amazing incentives for people who help out this year, which honestly I think it shouldn't be necessary, but just because I understand people are traveling a long way here and might not necessarily want to spend 2 hours being a pool captain, I'll provide these incentives.
Awesome. And I think that's really good for like everybody, you know, who, you know, they're kind of, you know, budget conscious. That can easily save you 20 to 50, anywhere from $20 to $50 in benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. There's ways to pay a $0 venue fee at Big House, guys. You got to bring a couple setups, volunteer for a couple shifts, and that'll pretty much be it. So it's an example of, this is going to be, obviously it's not going to be your $5 venue fee tournaments or anything like that. It'll probably be 40 or 50 bucks. But you can get that down to zero if you just help out. It's not that difficult to budget for it.
So you've been going to a lot of, I see you on social media collaborating with people like Jabali, and I saw that you got a Combo Fest. So obviously, you know, these are big event hosts. What secret sauce have you been taking notes of from the recipe books?
It's funny you mentioned that, because like I'm just kind of realizing some of the true benefits to volunteer work or paid, you know, TOing work for other tournaments these days is everybody has different gaps in knowledge. And for me, if I help Rick with Combo Breaker, Smash a Combo Breaker, and I could tap into his knowledge and his network of resources a little bit to learn more. And you can't buy that anywhere. So for me, it's more important to do that and gain some networking contacts rather than just straight up getting a paycheck at the end of the day. And I think other people can kind of learn from that example is, if you help out, even if you're just a volunteer at a pool captain, you know.
Wait, SFAT just subscribed.
Wait, what?
Sub hype. Welcome to the family.
Wait a minute. Did you give like part of this $154 to SFAT so he could subscribe?
No.
Is that your plan?
No. No.
Is it is this an imposter? Because SFAT 17, you know. What if Zach is actually SFAT 18 and this guy is just playing with us?
Dude, I don't even know.
Did you memorize like is 17 his number? We could just be pawns in a very elaborate social media monster troll game.
I feel like I'm in some sort of level of Inception.
Yeah, right?
Like, welcome to the... Like, I can't even say welcome to the family, because technically he's, like, already... in the...
Dude, that's awkward. It's like, no, welcome to the family. You should do, like, a if-then statement. If you are an imposter, then this. If not, then this. Because it depends. I don't know if that's the real SFAT or not.
Okay, SFAT, who did I 1v2 in an epic match?
Dude, that's good.
You were my teammate, so you know who... Wait, no, that's wrong. I was teaming with Homemade Waffles. I'm the imposter.
Who am I talking to? Are you just like... Are you a guy with that Mission Impossible skin mask or something?
Okay.
Where's the real Daniel Lee?
Dude, you're on to me. SFAT, who did we beat in grand finals of a random San Jose tournament that Julian used to run?
Okay, there's gonna be like a stream delay, so we might be sitting here awkwardly for like 30 seconds.
We probably will. So anyway,
what were we talking about?
we were talking about the value of networks and...
Oh, yeah. So, I just to summarize, I think knowledge is worth way more than money or whatever when you're helping out at another tournament. Not your own tournament, just like someone else's tournament.
And then, what was it? So, like, Big House 5, ballpark estimate, what do you think would be the totals? If you were to...
Well, see, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into, like, a projection.
Okay.
I feel like people take that number and they run with it. So, I will say...
Okay, let me think of a number.
The overall number of unique attendees that could fit in the venue is probably around 2,000. So I think we'll be fine.
Wait, so you mean it's not going to be like Apex where the room could only handle 400?
Was it really 400 people?
Dude, you took a picture of it. It was 400 per room.
Oh my god. See, yeah, I wasn't sure if... You know how ballrooms are separated into like 3 sections sometimes, or just different floor plans? I didn't know if that was one small section of it or if it was the whole thing. So I didn't want to speak out of turn there. But...
It was 400 per room. I looked at both sides.
Okay. That's kind of scary. I at the same time, I don't want to shit on them too hard because they probably got their venue right after Apex 2014, which gave them 11 months to plan, and I don't know if they expected... How many uniques did they get? Like 2,000? Maybe they expected 1,000. I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers from Apex 2014. Maybe I'm just talking on my ass.
How did you so Big House, gets like this much, and what if you continue to grow? What happens to Juggle Rob?
My sanity dies.
Like, at what point would you go like, I even have to make event coordination, like delegate to other people because it's just like so ridiculous?
Yo, maybe we'll be like the World Cup with like 6 different sites and stadiums and like come together for one huge invitation-only event at the end or something. I don't know. At some point, it'll become unrecognizable, and I don't want it to reach that point.
Yeah.
Like if you go to I don't know, like some Lego convention of 20,000 people, that's kind of unrecognizable from a Smash tournament of 1,000 people, and I want to be able to keep that feel somehow.
Okay. He convinced us. He's one of the 2 Californians to go to all big houses.
See, that's okay. I feel like other people might have known that. It'd take a very dedicated Melee historian though to pull that off. And yeah, So I believe him.
Yeah.
I believe Zach. Sorry for doubting you, Zach.
Damn. Good stuff to him. Dang. So what's your itinerary for this summer?
It looks like pretty much one major every month. So after Toronto this weekend, June will be kind of light until CEO. I'm going to CEO on the last weekend of June. That should be good. Jabali and Rick from Combo Breaker, they work really closely together. It's I almost feel like they're sister events of some kind. Share a lot of sponsors, share a lot of knowledge. They just work together to make both events better. Something pretty cool, and looking forward to that in Florida. Then we have FC, first weekend of July, and anybody who doesn't know about the FC series, look up the crew battles. Let's just say that. It's going to be good. Evo is the third weekend of July. I'll be at that. And then Super Smash Con, second weekend of August. So it'll be a busy summer. I had to like super carefully plan out my vacation days. I can do... I think I'm doing like 3 red eyes out of these 4. So that's going to be pretty rough.
I don't know how you do it.
Worth it, dude. It's gonna be worth it.
Are there gonna be any hype exhibitions that you're gonna do at Big House, or is it gonna be strictly just like the tournaments? I don't even know anything.
There's an interesting thing about that. I don't think any Big House has ever had an exhibition ever, because from my perspective, we pour all our effort and resources into making the in-person experience as airtight as possible.
Yeah.
You know, like round robin pools or whatever. A lot of friendlies, a lot of setups. A good schedule. So I haven't thought of that, but now that we have 3 days, anything's possible.
Yeah, because like I was asking that because FC's announcing draft crews, and I remember last year at Big House we went to midnight because we were only a 2-day tournament, but you have a full day, you have a full extra day.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something. I'm not quite there in the planning process, but we can expect something more than previous years, which was nothing in terms of exhibitions.
Scar versus Prime Blur.
And yeah, no, I can't promise round robin pools either, because guys, the biggest tournament that's ever run round robin pools was 570 entrants, Big House 4, and the second biggest tournament ever to run round robin pools was 300 people. And we're talking about 1,000 people plus this year. So I can't promise that at all. I'll just say that right now. But what I can promise is that the overall experience is going to be completely worth coming out to. And it doesn't necessarily take round robin pools to make that happen. There's actually a lot of flaws with that format, and I might make a post about that in a bit. There's a lot of flaws with round robins. I'll say that.
Yeah. There's always that talk, even among like casual. I don't like to say word, like newer tournament players. Like they always have that temptation of throwing matches or like making backhanded or back alley agreements. Like that's like it's natural. Like I can make it out if you lose to me. It's like, oh really? Like yeah, I'm just
right. Collusion potential is one weakness of it. Tie breaking is another weakness. And you need about twice as many volunteers if you run that format versus bracket pools. So that's pretty much it. And the big thing people forget about is it dilutes the stakes. So as a viewer, if I watch Lucky versus Nintendo second round robin pools at Super Nebs, if it's a round robin pool, the stakes aren't there. If Lucky loses, gets upset, we say, oh my god, wait. That just means he's going to be one lower seed in bracket. That didn't actually mean anything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whereas in a bracket pool, if someone gets upset, like Swift Base over West Balls or whatever at Evo, it's like, wow, West Balls has to go through losers now, and if he loses one more set, he's out of the whole tournament.
Yeah. I mean, that's like why West Balls can get away with playing Donkey Kong.
That's why I chose West Balls as an example.
Ultimate Sandbagger. There's a funny story with him where he lost the set, ends up getting 5th, was angry because he thought it was top. He gets 5th, was angry that it was top three, thinking it was top 4. But even if we're top 4, he wouldn't have made it out anyway.
Oh god.
Because he sandbagged to the point where he was no way, shape, or form of making it out.
Right. So, round robins are good for locals and regionals. They really don't work for nationals, and we stretched it to its limit last year with 570 entrants. Like, honestly, that people don't realize how hard that is, especially without a guaranteed volunteer pipeline.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I think people forget that it's a really. I feel like the trade-off is like you sacrifice round robins, but you have setups to have friendlies throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and the schedule is super airtight without that. Round robins are very variable. If you have 3 peaches and 2 puffs in your 8-person round robin, that's gonna run like 50% longer, I guarantee you, than a normal one. Everyone's playing each other.
Did you hear about that one poll at Genesis 2 with like a bunch of peaches and a bunch of Luigis?
Nope. What happened?
Like Light, the Arizona peach, like timed out a bunch of them.
Oh my god. Yeah, that'll happen. It's always so scary because like if you go to Mr. Wizard as a logistics consultant for Melee and you tell him that theoretically every single set in our tournament might be 24 minutes, how scary is that for Mr. Wizard? Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I would be totally understanding if he straight up came out and said, ultimatum, guys, you're doing 3 stocks. Take it or leave it. I'd be like, Mr. Wizard, I totally understand as a TO.
But I want my best of 7.
Yeah.
I want 2 minutes of coaching between every match. I want customs. I want 6 stock. I'm exaggerating at this point.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say EVO 2015 is going to be the only major ever to run customs in Smash 4. I don't think any tournament at that level is ever going to do it again.
Yeah. Do you think
people will find out why after EVO? Like I'm kind of tired of rehashing the reasons, but it's logistics, and if you run tournaments, you'll know why.
I think it's like funny because maybe like Mr. Wizard is like the secret savior we need because he didn't brawl with items and everybody put in like.
I think that's kind of what it is when I thought about it. Like, oh, first time Brawl was at EVO, there was items. First time Smash 4 is at EVO, there are customs, and it's kind of just his YOLO moment of let's cause some ruckus in the media on the social media circles and do this.
Yeah, it's like
I'm okay with that. Someone's got to try it, and EVO's a perfect tournament to try it because it's the tournament. If some rando national, in some random middle of the U.S. state tries to run it, no one's gonna go.
I agree, and he doesn't care. He's so big that even if he puts items on, like people are still gonna go to EVO.
Yeah, we're still gonna go, and he knows that. I don't blame him. I think that's a great attitude to have. Like the vocal minority that complains, they're not worth dealing with, and I'd rather eliminate that section of my audience and have a lot less headache. And Mr. Wizard, I feel like it's the same way. Totally respect him for that.
Yeah, I agree. So, Mr. Wizard, you're a huge troll. I hope that you're getting better because you wrote that you were in the hospital, but I guess.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He's out of the hospital. I think he's doing better. But I guess you're the hero that we unintentionally needed, I guess.
The EVO lineup announced show was classic troll for Mr. Wizard, dude. We all thought we were dead in the water.
Yeah. You're such a troll. You designed everything about that to make people as angry as much as you can, only to have Melee be like the last game announced.
Yeah. Indeed. What else do you want to read through some questions? And
did we even get any questions?
I made a Twitter post and there's a million replies, just random stuff. So I might want to.
Okay, yeah, take a look. For some reason, I can't. All I see is Zork's question. Like, I get a bunch of subcategories. What do I click to? Like, I put in the hashtag AskMIOM, and I only see 3 tweets.
Oh, no. No one actually used that, I think. I tried to get people to use it, but they just replied to the Twitter thread.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and look through that?
It's hard. It's hard to get people to use that hashtag. Okay. How do you manage to get so many setups every tournament? Well, we just kind of went over how I wasn't able to do that for PM, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask. For Melee, I think it's about building a culture in which community members want to help out. Don't make it seem like a chore. Make it seem like something that will benefit the community long term. Okay. Is it worth it to bring in high-level players if it means increasing the number of entrants? Big House 1, classic example of this. It's an investment, of course. You pay money out of your own pocket, you get a top player to come who's maybe never come to your region before, and there's a trickle-down effect with that involves other attendees seeing that and attending when they might not have attended before, so that's extra entrants. And then trickle downs again, like they tell their friends, those friends tell their other friends, and that's how a seemingly random tournament can get like 200 people out of nowhere if they just confirm a couple top players. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. You also have to make sure you have the infrastructure for any potential growth, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing. I'm not going to put them on total blast, but when MVG advertises and brings Axe and Mutaking to an event that cannot handle the infrastructure, then you run into problems. So you also want to make sure that the infrastructure is there to take care of the growth.
Totally agree with that. In what terms does the hotel agree to have so many smashers in their place? It's an excellent question. At a certain point, to run a national, you're going to have to go to the hotel level of venues. You can't get away with crappy, churches or even university venues because not big enough. From the hotel's perspective, they need money to cover their risk in hosting your event and their effort in doing so. And the money comes from two places, either food or room revenue. And if you can go to a hotel and in your pitch tell them that we're going to sell 400 room nights over this weekend, that is a huge selling point, and that will get you a lot of brownie points from them in terms of them allowing you to host a tournament at their venue.
Let's see. Let's keep going down. It's a good answer. We'll shotgun these.
Rick, the combo breaker legend himself. Pleasing everybody versus stability. Handling disappointed attendees and equipment maintenance. I agree, these almost never get covered because they're not sexy topics. They're just, they get thrown under the table and people forget about them. Pleasing everyone versus stability is an excellent topic. There's going to be TOs out there who try to make everybody happy, everybody in attendance happy, and that's impossible. There's just no way to do it. For me, I think indecisiveness is one of the worst traits of a TO, so I think you should make a decision and live with the results. I don't think you should do polls to see what rule sets people like, or what day the tournament your local should be on. Just screw it, just make your decision. If you host good tournaments, people will come.
Yeah, I think it's always funny because you tell players do you want round robin polls or single elimination? It's no shit, I'm gonna pick round robin polls.
Yeah, that's why I absolutely hate the stock count polls. It's because 99% of the poll respondents are going to be players who have never TO'd before. So of course they're going to choose the higher stock count. It's more playing time for them. If you gave them an option to do 10 stock matches and 20-person round robins, they would vote for that because it's more playing time for them. But it doesn't mean that it's logistically feasible. So I think survey is one of the worst ideas for a rule set in particular. I think it's okay for hype exhibitions. You remember how I'm Not Yelling did the teams vote for who plays in the teams round robin? I think that's awesome. Perfect use of a poll. But for rule sets or executive decisions such as the date of a tournament, it's awful.
It's like saying this. Do you want more breaks at tournaments? Yeah, sure. And then you ask a completely separate question later. It's do you want to finish on time? Yeah. It's
it's okay, choose one. You can't have both. There's trade-offs in real life, and I feel like these spectator voting monsters don't understand the concept of a trade-off.
Wait,
Anyway.
why can't I have both?
Yeah, you're right.
Alright.
Handling disappointed attendees. That's a tricky one. This is all about customer service. Like, people who know me know that I'm not good at customer service. I tell people to, go away more often than I should. But I think if there's a legitimate reason that the tournament experience went poorly for somebody, if it was in your control, if you promised something that wasn't delivered, then you might want to think about giving a refund or, something in that along that line of thought. If it's attendees acting entitled about something that wasn't promised or wasn't actually laid out as an expectation, then I think you should back off and just tell them you don't have to come to this tournament if you don't want to. It's a free market.
Hey, Cosmonaut just subscribed.
Yo,
Welcome to the family.
thanks to our $154, we were able to funnel 10 of that to Cosmonaut and SFAS so that they could register, or that they could subscribe to the MIOM channel.
I don't even understand how. Alright, thank you very much. I don't know what else to say.
You can't say welcome to the family because he's already part of the family.
I like that you're in our family.
Yes. Yes. Let's give a re-welcome back to him. What else? Maybe a couple more here.
Hey, can people play your Fox?
Oh my god.
Yo,
okay. I just want to say this. That M2K versus Jugglefox video on YouTube is 4 years old. If we played again, I would definitely take more than 2 stocks out of 7 matches. Guys. Okay.
You have to think about what your goal would be.
I would take at least 4. Okay. Out of 7 matches.
I don't know if
seriously though, I've actually been playing a lot of Fox in friendlies because I feel like against lower level players, playing Fox makes me get a little better at the game than if I played Falcon. Because as Falcon, I autopilot and I go for openings that I wouldn't be able to get versus better players. As Fox, I'm not as good of a Fox player, so I have to think about how I get my openings and follow up. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like you get to understand the tools of Fox and what he's abusing. So when you're playing against Fox, you understand what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And so
same with Marth. I love playing Marth in friendlies and Smash Fest and low entry tournaments because I feel like I get better from it. And it's not like a disrespect thing. People say, "Oh, why are you going Marth? Disrespect." I was like, no, I actually have a legitimate reason for going this. I feel like I get better from it, and it's a good training exercise.
So you're saying you're a sexist? I'm just kidding. We'll not.
I most definitely did not beat Dark Rain last weekend. I don't know where Stream Monsters are getting their info. Yeah, I did better than I did against him last year, though, at the same tournament. I can live with that, as long as you play, not if you play decently in the set, you live with the result. The worst is when you play bad and you leave something out on the line and somebody just edges you out because you literally couldn't do anything.
I think people don't realize that we're figureheads, commentators, TOs. We're actually not bad at the game either. I think a lot of people forget that.
Dude. At Rule 6 Regional in 2012, I sat down to play Phil and Waffles in a rotation, and I was like, oh wait, these guys just commentate, right? I don't think they actually play much. Then I got my ass handed to me for an hour straight.
Dude, they're really good against Falcon.
Yeah. I know now. They're really, really good. That was just the ignorance of me never having been to California for Smash before 2012.
Dude, you swam in the shark tank.
Yeah, definitely.
One last question. So we did talk about this on the stream, but you were counting sheep or something. Partial DQs versus full DQs. I don't know.
Oh, it's a good topic, dude. I can see both sides of the debate. I feel like it should be either no DQ or a full DQ though, because part of the novelty of Smash tournaments is you want as accurate placings as possible, and if you half DQ Mango, he's gonna run through losers and skew the results. So essentially, after that point, anything after second place is meaningless in terms of placing. You don't know if third place deserved third place or if ninth place deserved ninth place. It could be flip-flopped. So I think not just for Mango, not just for top players. I think anybody who doesn't show up on time, I feel it should be a full DQ, or you just say no DQ and we're gonna wait for them and work with it.
Well,
I think half DQ is the worst option.
I mean, at what point do you you wait, and you're like, I'm having second.
Yeah, it depends. I don't think it makes sense always to say, oh, if you're a minute late, full DQ. I don't think it's always the best thing to do that, because there's the context of the tournament. If you have 10 hours to run a 16-person bracket, then you probably shouldn't DQ someone for being 1 minute late, right? But if you have 2 games, 4 events, 2-hour waves that you have to abide by, then you probably should DQ someone if they're late by a couple minutes, because the whole tournament starts to crumble if people do that. So I think it's just about context.
Yeah, fair enough. I know that you have to go. It's about 3 o'clock.
It is.
Any
Going to Toronto in about an hour, so that should be fun.
Any closing thoughts?
Nope, that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me. Gonna be at pretty much all the summer Smash majors, so if you have any questions, come up to me and ask. Honestly, like things like PM wobbling, these hot topics lately that I've been posting about, I don't talk about those much because, as you guys all know, it's a rabbit hole when you start addressing people on social media on that. But if you have a question in person, I'll be more than happy to talk about any sort of Smash topic that you can think of.
Alrighty, cool. Have a good and safe trip.
All right. See you, Daniel.
See ya. Alrighty.